Okay, let's run through this track. I don't want to do big introductions or anything like that. Just going to start making some videos where we run through some of my songs. I have a lot of songs, like 200 songs. I'm just going to pick a few and start running through them. I guess like a track breakdown so that I guess people can learn a little bit about my workflow and how they could improve their workflow and some ideas. I see a lot of tutorials just like, showing ideas, but not really, I think, going in depth about writing a song and moving from part to part, doing things like that. So this is a song called The Cure that I wrote about 2 years ago. And first, let's just take a little bit of a listen to it for a few seconds here.
And I went around the bend, and there the sun, it was a brilliant sunny day, a warm day, and there floating in the fields were hundreds and hundreds of dead cattle.
Alright, so right away, first of all, you're going to notice that I only use a very small amount of tracks. This track has 11 tracks, I guess 10, because I didn't even use this one. And I try to do that because, first of all, it's just easier to work with a small amount of tracks when you're mixing, and also for your CPU and usage and things like that, but also just mainly because there's no need to add a million sounds. If you find the right sounds and if you find the right music and you find the right melodies, then you don't need. Some of the best songs in the world were written with 4 or 5 tracks, and obviously electronic music is better and it needs more tracks because there's a lot more going on. But if you can try to write your song with the small amount of tracks, that is the best thing that I think that you could do. So first of all, I was playing around. How do I start? I just was writing this little melody. I just came up, found a sound. I go through some presets, probably on Alchemy on Logic or whatever, and I found this little melody. It's a very simple melody, but it has like that weird, scary type alien ambient forest vibe. Sorry about that. We're going to turn that off for 1 second. Leave that. Okay, back to action. Sorry about that. So it has like that weird, interesting vibe going on to it. So right away I'm already thinking in my head, okay, I came up with this little melody, I found the right sound. So the first thing that you do is that when you find that right sound, the first melody of the track, the first way, that's how you're going to build the rest of the track. That's how you're going to choose your sounds. You're not going to have this sound and then put like some, modern day sounding pop vocal on it. You know what I mean? I mean, you could, but there's a certain way that you choose your sounds. So you start from the first sound that you get. So it happened to be that while I was writing this track, I just came across this podcast from Joe Rogan. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not a really big fan of podcasts, but it popped up my YouTube, and he's interviewing this guy who's into psychedelic mushrooms, and he was telling this crazy story about him taking some mushrooms. So I was listening to it, and I was like, you know what? I'm writing this track. I have this weird melody type thing going on over here, and I want to add some vocals to it. You always want to. There's part of the music and ambient, psychedelic music, and trippy music. They add in a lot of vocals, and they add in a lot of vocal samples. A lot of people use the same vocal samples over and over again, and they make them run for like 2-3 minutes. Like, what are you trying to write? You know what I mean? I wanted a few seconds of vocals at the beginning to give this mysterious feel. So I took a little bit of the sample, I cut it up, and just basic. I just probably just added even just a reverb, just a little bit of Replica, which is a awesome delay reverb style plugin from Native Instruments. I think that I picked up for free a few years ago. I don't even know. I'm not like the biggest plugin junkie. I only have like a few. As you can see, my computer is already going super slow. It's already old. Here, Joe Rogan is stunned by Paul Stamets' stories about the multiverse, which is what the video was titled. I just put a little bit of reverb on it, and together we have.
And I went around the bend, and there.
Ah, see, now my computer's already starting to get cracked out. Let's see what. Let me turn off Chrome for a minute. Sorry, people, I'm new to these tutorials and making my sounds work and making my computer all work together here. Computer is so old. It's a 2012 MacBook.
And I went around the bend, and there the sun, it was a brilliant sunny day, a warm day, and there floating in the fields were hundreds and hundreds of dead cattle.
So very simple. I also, as you can see, when do you want to bring in? So the construction of the track is obviously up to you and what you want to do, but you don't want to bring in every single melody at once. You want the track to tell a story. You want to build it up. So as Joe Rogan over here says, whoa.
And hundreds of dead cattle.
So we bring in the rest of this. We introduce the bass, which is a very simple bass line. You see? And this first melody of this Chinese zither. So I love the Asian instruments on Logic. Just love them. Okay, because they just have so much, like, everyone likes to use synths and write melodies, but like, it's so good to be able to combine all the different sounds. I love listening to Asian music and Indian music and everything like that, and Logic has these beautiful free stock instruments. They're all found over here. World, stringed, you have all these different types of things. So the fun thing about this Chinese scissor thing is that you can, however hard you hit it on your MIDI keyboard, you can do like some cool bends. Like I'm playing my keyboard right now, obviously. So I love choosing these funky sounds, and when you combine it all together, obviously I'm not going into music theory now and why I chose the notes that I chose, but first of all, I love this bass sound too. This very just deep bass. No, like writing a bass line. It's not really that type of song to like start writing a full melody of a bass line as well. We have this first melody over here with the bass. Hear how deep it is, how ambient it is. It sounds like you're in like some dream state. And then we pulled in these little drums here. Let's just go through this part. Simple drums too. So I love also about Logic is just using loops. I'm sick and tired of building my own drums or playing my own drums. I will play my own drums once in a while, obviously, but most of the time I go through Logic's loops and they're amazing. And if you combine loops like I see over here, I bring in some more drums. We had some fun stuff. You pan one to the left. I always pan one to the right, left and right. So we have this track, and now we combine all together. Soft, simple.
I entered, I think, into the multiverse.
So also over here I bought in this thing called Under the Mountain, which is a preset on Alchemy, which is just like rain and nature type sounds. I bought that in to add also some ambience, because he just finished telling a story about multiverses and mushrooms, and all of a sudden we're like, people are in like this dream state in like the forest. So I wanted to bring in some of these psychedelic sounds. Also, first of all, to give the track some background ambience and like that, but also just to put you in this relaxed state and this psychedelic type of state. So the drums are more like a trap style hip hop beats, but that's the beauty of combining all these types of things. You find the right beat that can match the simple melody. It doesn't have to be crazy, and then you can build something really, really beautiful with it. So you have this intro, and as the next, right before, I like to add on, like I think because I started making psychedelic trance music first, and in trance music and psychedelic trance music, they add on like new sounds, like every 8 bars or 16 bars. In this track, I actually don't. I change up the melody here at bar 16. See, at bar 4 we have nothing. Then from bar 4 to 9 we have we're adding in the bass and the drums. And then right before that, I actually add in the last part of the sample, which is him explaining what the multiverse is, and he says that he went into it.
I entered, I think, into the multiverse.
And then we bring in the secondary beat, which gives this whole picture.
I think into the multiverse.
And also that was not planned. You know, I probably just dragged in this beat because I liked it, and I didn't even know that there was going to be that entrance. But that perfect trap style trill, whatever it is on the drums that they call it, I forgot what it is. It just adds so much dynamics to the song. It's great. So that's also one of the reasons why I love using the loops, is because I would not have thought of that. And you take what you can get. Nobody says you have to make each loop, each sound. You know what I mean? Take what you have and create beautiful sounds with it. So the melody continues. So here, like I said, I like to add in more sounds. So you don't want to keep on using the same melody over and over again. You want there to be some transition. So I started off, you know, building up the melody, playing around with it, and then over here I start adding in some new notes into the melody, start expanding the melody. And then we take everything out because we want to have a small break between by bar 32, where I'm going to bring in a whole bunch of other things. I'm even going to bring in another drum beat. So we have 3 drum beats playing here, and they all working together so beautifully. I literally don't even EQ my stuff. I don't do anything to it. I'm going to post a link in the description of the full track like you could hear when it's mastered. A little bit of EQ on these two. We have that. So in this one, I wanted the track to move and to, I guess, become a little bit of heavier. So what do we do here? Let's see. Just here is the expansion of the melody even more. Just it's speeding up. You can see over here there's much longer notes. I was just, you know, building up this nice bass, just building up this nice ambient basis of the track, and then over here we start speeding the track up, adding here. You can see there's a bunch of 16th notes here and playing much faster. So we built up the track, and we added on this thing. Also, this just in the background, just to give it a little bit of movement as well. These things are very subtle in the track, and we like to add in subtle things to give the track some movement. So we see over here is that we have this melody that I made over here in this Chinese instrument, but without this Arctic noise lead, it would just sound too weak. Listen to it. Sounds cool, but when you add in the noise lead, it really gives it like a more of a oomph. It gives it more of like an aggressive feel. So we wanted to go from like chill to a little bit more heavier. So we needed to add in another sound. So again, you have to choose your sounds, and you have to work on the balancing and the building up of the track. And it's very important that you keep on building the track up, because you do not want the listener to get bored. Same thing, just I repeated the melody, and then we just bring it back down to chill times. See here, now we have this section between the heavy part and then going back to the outro. So we take away the two main drum beats and we are left with just this drum beat here and the nature sounds and this thing. So this thing now that we added in before, as the subtleness, is now kind of like its own little melody, and it's kind of bringing us to the next part. I actually wrote this song. This song is, I write stock music, and this is part of my portfolio. So you can see that if I was writing a song for a huge crowd or you know, people just listen to, I would maybe take a small or different direction. But this is a song that I want people to be able to chill to, and to be able to also be used in film. So there's a certain reason why I wrote it without so many changes, because you don't want to have so many changes, you don't want to have so many different things going on. If it's for film, it needs to be kind of like a certain level. So we have this moving along section here, changed up the melody, and then back to the original with this Chinese instrument. Take away the drums. And that's it. That's the track. And that's simple. That's a 3-minute, 16-second track with using only 11 channels. And if you find the right sounds and the right layering and work on it, work on your sounds, and pick the right melodies and everything like that, you can have a huge sounding track. I don't know, listen, I'm just trying to make these videos. If people want more, I'm going to try to make more. I'm not a teacher really specifically. I'm just trying to show people what a track could look like, and then they can use that idea. So, that's how I started learning, I guess, from early tutorials on YouTube back in the day. And but really it really comes down to you sitting there, putting in a few hours every day and discovering new sounds and discovering ways to make them connect from part to part.